Good afternoon. I'm Molly Zimmerman. I'm the Associate Director at the Science and Technology Law Center here at Syracuse University College of Law. We're happy to bring you Jeong today. Um, we're sponsored by NYSTAR, and um, also today people can earn credit from the Onondaga County Bar Association. For those of you that are watching for credit, we will read a code 2 times during the presentation, which you should record for the affirmation for credit. Jeong is an attorney, a patent attorney. He holds an MBA and a degree in biology. He's got it all going on here today for us. And he is the director of the Syracuse University Tech Transfer Office and Office of Industrial Development. He's also an adjunct professor here at the College of Law in the Tech Transfer Research course. He has 10 years of experience in Albany working with the legislature. He was on the Assembly Committee's, counsel to the Assembly Committee, Judiciary Committee, Commission on Science and Technology, and the Task Force on University Industry Collaboration. We're very happy to have him here to update us on what's been happening in Albany, and we thank you for joining us today. Jeong?
Thank you, Molly. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today at Syracuse Law School. I think it's apropos for me to tell you that this is, I think, the 10th year anniversary of the Science and Technology Law Center and NYSTAR. Both were found, actually codified in law in 2000 under the J2K Jobs 2000 legislation. And I'm not sure if anyone was aware of that, but I think this was important to talk about it because I'm going to talk about all the legislation, not all the legislation, but a lot of the legislation that was related to high tech this year in both the Assembly and the Senate. This has basically a 2-part presentation. First, I want to educate people on how to look up bills so that when you have a bill that comes through your desk or someone mentions it, you can go to the legislative website and look up the bills and look at the language yourself. Second, it's an informational workshop. I'm going to just go through the list of the legislation that we picked out that we thought were related to high-tech economic development. I'm sure there are some more bills that we've missed, but if you have aware of any others, please feel free to send me those, and I will put my email address up at the end of the last slide. But let me first thank Ashley Burrows. She was an attorney in my office for a few months who helped me do some of the research, as well as Sumit Batra, who is going to be a second-year law student who was an extern in my office this summer. Okay, so I'm going to start with a brief overview of the topics I'm going to cover. First, I'm going to go through the bill search, and I'm going to switch over to the web so that you guys can follow me and actually go through doing a bill search and looking at the bills and what kind of information you can extract from this website. And the rest of the talk is going to cover the legislations, and I broke them down into 9 different categories. One, I'm going to start with, 2, technology commercialization, workforce development, VC and investment related bills, tax credit bills, marketing bill, incubator bill, SBIR related bill, state IP related bills, and some miscellaneous bills that we uncovered that was introduced this year. These may have already been introduced last year and reintroduced, but for the purposes of this workshop, I'm just going to present it as if it was introduced for the first time this year. And you can get that information while we go through the web exercise. So bear with me for 1 second while I switch over to web. You have, the people that have the PowerPoint slides, you will have these as a screenshot, but if you can take a moment to go to the website, public.legisinfo.state.ny.us. And I'll give everybody a couple of seconds to get on there. http://public.public.state, S-T-A-T-E .ny.us. And I want to go through this so that after the workshop, you guys can go to this website, look up the bills you want, and look at the specific language in the bill. We just don't have the time to go through every single bill in detail, so this will be helpful later on. There is not. Are you seeing the?
Did you log into it?
There we go, everybody. So, I hope everybody's on this website. This is the New York State Legislators' website where you can look up bills. You can also look at budget bills over here. But we are focused on the bills for this year. And I'm going to put in Assembly Bill 9991. And this will bring you up to the status of the bill, where it is so far. There's a lot of information going on here. Obviously, you can tell who the sponsor of the bill is. This is Bill Magnarelli. He's an assemblyman in central New York and covering Syracuse. In the Senate, you can tell that there is a Senate sponsor, which is very good news for bills. If you have sponsors in both houses, more likely to be looked at seriously, and it's Valesky. According to the status of this bill, which establishes the Science and Technology Law Center and the Technology Commercialization Clinic program, you can see that it passed the Assembly, it was delivered to the Senate, and then it also passed the Senate as well. So this bill has passed both houses and now is waiting to be delivered to the governor. On top of the page, you will see that there's a couple of boxes, a few boxes up here, and you can look at the text of the bill, for example. So you want to click that, unclick the status, and click the word text, and you will come to the bill language. And again, I'm not going to go through the details of the bill language. You can print them out, look at it more carefully at your leisure. The other important thing is to print out the sponsor's memo, which have to be submitted with the bills when they are introducing legislation. So again, this will give you the bill number, sponsor, title of the bill, purpose, and the summary. And the justification, it will also give you some legislative history on the bottom of the memo. And if there are any fiscal implications for the state and local government, which means if there's any monies that need to be appropriated, it will list that as well, and the effective date. Okay, so if we click on also, an important thing to look at is voting records for each of the House. So if you click on voting, you can tell who's voted yes. In this case, everybody voted yes except for Morahan. I think EXC means that he was excused for the vote. He may have stepped out of the assembly chamber. Unfortunately, when you go to the Senate, you cannot see the voting records. You can see everything else. This is the text Senate bill, and it should be exactly the same wording. Does anybody have any questions about how to find the bill on this website? I'll wait a couple of seconds, see any. Now that you've learned how to look up bills, I'm going to start with the technology commercialization bills. We'll go right to it. That was the website, okay. So the first bill that I'd like to talk about, whoops. First bill I'd like to talk about is the A9469A and Senate 1997, creating the Technology Commercialization Partnership Program. It's currently in the Assembly, is pending in the Ways and Means Committee, and in the Senate, it is currently in the Rules Committee. This program creates the fund for assisting collaboration between the private sector and the state's academic research institution to commercialize technologies in New York. Grants between $500,000 to $1 million. Awards would go to researchers at New York State academic research institutions, working in collaboration with private sector entity or for the purposes of commercializing the research in New York State. Now, if you're familiar with some of the New York State programs, there is a similar program in the books called the Technology Transfer Incentive Program. Currently, I think the funding for that program has been diminished due to budget cuts, and we have not seen an RFP for the TTIP in, I think, 2 years. But it is very similar, but I think this bill is trying to get at some of the ways that the funds can be spent. And I know that TTIP, you were limited to certain activities with the money. This particular one is expanding that to include prototyping, incorporations, patent and license related activity fees, compensating faculty or students for working on commercializing technologies, and the company that the university has to work with has to be 250 employees or less. Moving on to the second bill, this is the A251A, creating the Regional Technology Commercialization Fund and Grant Program. This was actually introduced last year, and it passed both houses last year, but was vetoed by the governor. But it was already reintroduced this year. Again, this is also focused on commercializing early stage technologies in New York State. Awards would be given to academic research institutions, regional technology development organizations, Center for Advanced Technologies, and the grantee organizations would allocate the funds to the appropriate companies and projects. Next bill. Okay, this is the bill that we just looked up, 9991A, which established the Science and Technology Law Center. Again, this passed the Assembly and the Senate and is currently being delivered to the governor. So the entities eligible to operate the clinics would conduct activities as engaging in research and analysis of commercial development of early stage technologies, and providing research and analysis of technical, marketing, intellectual property, and legal issues related to commercial development of new technologies for purpose of assisting universities, entrepreneurs, and companies in the state in commercializing new products and processes. Again, this is a great program, I think. And Ted Hagelin, who has been running the program out of the law school for the last 20 years, has made a lot of headway in promoting this type of program throughout the state. I know that there is a clinical program in Long Island, one in Rochester as well, and the attempt is to try to establish one of these throughout the state. And of all the programs that was part of the J2K bill in 2000, this program is continuing strong and has developed a lot. We had a lot of people on board using these services. It's a win-win situation for students in New York, the universities, the company, and government. Next bill I'll move on to is still the technology commercialization bills. This next one, A253 and S2290, establishes the Biosciences Commercialization Fund. It's either both, it can be a grant or is a loan. Currently, it's in the Assembly Ways and Means and the Senate Finance Committee. Some of the activities that you can use for this fund is to offset FDA costs as well as development costs of the project. The project cannot exceed more than $150,000. Second, next bill is A8428. This one does not have a Senate sponsor. This creates the federal matching grants for organizations associated with energy research and high-tech economic development. Right now, it's in the Assembly Energy. This bill would provide required state matching funds to federal and private awards made for the purposes of energy research and high-tech economic development. I know that NYSERDA has been doing a lot to promote technology commercialization and innovation, and I do believe they have a federal matching grants program from the stimulus money. So sometimes bills are introduced, but some agencies will carry out certain programs that are related. It's just that some of the legislatures would like to see it codified in statute, so that's why they introduce some of these bills. Yes.
Can you explain the significance of the committees and how that affects them moving forward through the process?
Sure. Well, there's always the high priority type committees and sort of the committees that are in the lower totem pole. And if you look at where the bills are, you can get a sense of, how far this bill is going to go that year. So if your bill is in the Ways and Means Committee, that's a pretty good sign because it has gone through all of the lower committees and move up to the committee where the money is being talked about. And this is where, lobbying happens and a lot of phone calls to the legislature asking them to really advocate for this bill, try to find the appropriations. And sometimes if you're on the floor, obviously, that's what you want because that has come out of the Ways and Means. And you'll see some of the bills which I indicate that those bills are already on the floor. Does that answer your question? So next topic is going to be workforce and curriculum bills that we found. The first one is A354S2294, which establishes the Community College High Technology Investment Program called CCHIP. In the Assembly, it's in the Higher Ed. In the Senate, it's in the Economic Development Committee. This would require the Foundation for Science and Technology and Innovation, NYSTAR, to award grants up to $100,000 to community colleges to upgrade educational, occupational, and training services. The next one is A8869 and S408, authorizing NYSTAR to establish a high-tech employment and training program. It's a high-tech employment and training program within NYSTAR to provide funding for projects to support industry and firm-specific training for firms in high-tech industries. Now, workforce is a very important topic in the legislature. I know that they have questioned a lot of the investments in the in university economic development efforts, but a lot of the legislature also want to see, community colleges taking some of the research coming out of our four-year institutions and creating jobs and making sure that the people who are on the ground floor working have the proper training. For example, if you look at an Albany area, there's a chip manufacturing going on up there, and I think they're working with the community colleges in that area to provide the next workforce to help in that chip fabs.
Before we proceed, for those taking this for credit from the bar, please write down this code. I'll read it twice. 14YLJ10. 14YLJ10. Thank you.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions so far?
Oh. How is high-tech defined?
Oh, very good question. Again, I used my 15 years of, accumulated judgment to define those. We went through the legislative committees who would be responsible for certain high-tech bills, which I thought would be in those committees. So high-tech is defined in a very broad sense. Again, you'll see that some of the bills that I cover include tax bills as well. So there's no specific definition of high tech. I think it's more of when we saw the bill, we said, okay, this could be considered a high tech economic development bill. I know that's not really the answer you're looking for, but that's all I have. Okay. Another workforce bill is A252 S1147, the Biosciences Curriculum Development and Workforce Training Fund. This is on the floor of the Assembly. Well, I think the Assembly's left, but they may come back and do some more bills and pass one of these bills. In the Senate, it's in the authorities and commissions. So this provides funds to bioscience research institutions and organizations on a competitive basis to develop curriculum and administer bioscience-specific training programs for current and prospective industry employees. It would also provide assistance to businesses that conduct basic applied or translation of research that leads to development of products improving human health or agriculture and which requires approval of the FDA. Okay, the next set of bills, I categorize them into the investment or VC-related bills. A1892A increases the tax credit for early equity investments. This is in the Ways and Means Committee in the Assembly and the Senate, the Investigation and Government Ops Committee. So this would increase the total amount of credits available to a taxpayer from $150,000 for 5-year investments and $300,000 for 10-year investments to $300,000 and $600,000 respectively. The next bill is A2817. It's called the Certified Bank Capital Companies Tax Credit, which would give 100% tax credit over 10 years to banks for investing in certified bank capital companies. This is modeled after the CAPGO program, which is the Certified Capital Company program, which gave 100% tax credits over 10 years to insurance companies who invested in these private venture capital firms. This is in the Assembly Ways and Means, does not have a Senate sponsor. Okay. Next VC bills, A1979, S3080A, high-tech working capital loan guarantees to eligible high-tech businesses. In the Assembly, it's in the Economic Development Committee, and the Senate in the Finance Committee. It authorizes the New York State UDC, or Urban Development Corporation, or so known as the Empire State Development, to establish a loan guarantee program in conjunction with Regional Technology Development Organization to decentralize loan guarantees for working capital loans to high-tech businesses. Next is the Assembly Bill 9406 and Senate 6887, which creates the Seed New York Investment Fund. In the Assembly, it's in the Ways and Means Committee, and in the Senate, the Corporations Committee. This would create a new investment fund that will make awards in regional equity funds, providing seed capital for early-stage commercialization of technologies, competitively awarded to companies with record of making syndicated equity-based seed stage investments. This bill has gotten a lot of attention, a lot of it due to folks up in Rochester, Judy Albers, and it was looking really good this year, hoping to get a seed fund because earlier this year, the governor recognized the need for a seed fund in New York, introduced his own seed fund program, which I think was about a $25 million fund, but then later he took it off the table due to budget constraints. So people are listening when it comes to seed fund needs in New York State. Next set of bills are all related to tax. First one, A2815 S1997, provides exemption from tax on sales and the compensating use tax for equipment with purchase price of $500 or greater, purchased by companies located in college incubator facilities or those that are funded by the state. Again, this is designed to eliminate a small but significant tax burden for the smaller companies and incubator spaces in our campus. The next tax credit is the A2818, Small New York-based high technology business investment tax credit. It has no Senate sponsor. It's in Assembly Ways and Means. This, I have seen this before in the past few years and has not really gained a lot of momentum, and other states have adopted this. It authorizes the trading of existing unused R&D credits and existing but unused net operating loss deductions to existing entities. This would allow emerging high-tech companies to sell their net operating losses to profitable companies. A lot of these small companies have no revenues, so they are not able to use some of their net operating losses, as well as some of their R&D credits. Next bill is 1889A S3084. This is an employment credit for qualified emerging technology companies. It's currently in the Assembly Ways and Means, and in the Senate, the Investigations and Government Operations. Excuse me. This bill would increase the existing tax credit for jobs created by small companies engaged in high-tech fields from $1,000 to $2,000 per full-time job. Also adds $3,000 credit for jobs created as a result of companies' commercialization of IP acquired from a university in New York State. And also adds $4,000 credit for hiring new employees eligible for targeted job tax credit or for benefits under the Federal Workforce Investment Act. Now, there's an entire section for qualified emerging technology companies and the kind of credits that you can receive. And I know that some of these credits is not a popular credit that some companies are not aware of. So I encourage you to check with your accountants if you are a small company to see if you can use some of these credits. I remember that there are credits for patent expenses and as well as educational expenses as well. So if you're going to send your employees for an educational purpose, you can use that expense and get tax credits on it. I think the patent expenses include issue fees and maintenance fees, if I recall. Those, you can find them in the New York State tax, is it the tax? Tax and finance. Okay.
Bills that are still in committees in terms of their likelihood to proceed to passage?
Oh, okay. Well, so the budget has not been passed in New York State. Even though the Assembly and the Senate has adjourned, they will have to come back. And when they do come back, they may do some of these bills on the floor. And that has happened before. Even though they're really focused on the budget, if they are here and everyone's present, they will pass some legislation that is priority on either the Assembly or Senate's agenda. But right now, last time I checked, all of these bills are currently in the committees, waiting to be passed by the committee, or some of them are just on the floor. The way it looks right now, a lot of the bills have fiscal implications, and this year it's been very tough on everybody. And anytime there's a program bill or a tax bill that minimizes the revenue stream for the state, it's been tough to get it on the floor and get it signed by the governor. Obviously, there are other priorities. Usually economic development, especially high-tech economic development, is not on the top 3 list of things on the agenda. I mean, obviously we've got to worry about our education, property tax, health, and those things usually take up most of the time for the people who are making the decisions in the Assembly and the Senate. Next set of tax bills is A8997A and S6995A, which enacts the New York State Innovation Investment Act. This has both Assembly and Senate sponsors. This would provide tax benefits for eligible high-tech enterprises which place in service tangible personal property or other property which equals at least $10 million. The tax benefit include credits against real property tax reduction credits, investment credits, employment incentive credits, and wage tax credits. The next one is Assembly 3068, which established the Micro Enterprise Investor Tax Credit Program. This bill's objective is to encourage third parties to invest in micro enterprises, businesses with five or fewer employees. Credit is applied over a 3-year period with 15% in first year and 5% credit applied in second and third year up to $150,000 over the 3 years. Next subject bill is the marketing related bill. There are other marketing related bills out there again, but I was focusing on whether there were any ideas introduced by a legislature related to marketing of our high-tech resources in New York State. And fortunately, we did find one. It's called the A2207, creates the high-tech marketing program. In the Assembly, it's in the Economic Development Committee, and the Senate in the Commerce Committee. It establishes a high-tech marketing program in the areas of nanotech, biotech, photonics, optics, and imaging. Provides funds on a matching basis to establish regional economic development marketing coalitions. So there are people thinking about these things at least, and hopefully not only this bill, but then the other bills that I just talked about would get the attention of the new administration or people moving on to the new administration to remember these bills and hope that these ideas are introduced in the next administration so that we can keep the ideas flowing. It does not get lost in the vacuum. There is an incubator bill that was introduced just this year. It's A11616, S7048. It's the New York Incubator Network bill. It's in the Assembly Economic Development, and it did pass the Senate and was delivered to the Assembly. This would allow NYSTAR to designate a university or university-affiliated research institute or a consortium of such institutions as an incubator, and allows the foundation to provide financial assistance for operating purposes. This would help, I think, just all the incubators in New York State to, I guess, organize and be represented under one organization, and NYSTAR would help to fund its operations. The next set of bills, what I refer to as SBIR-related bills. For those who are not familiar with SBIR, it's the Small Business Innovation Research Program. It is a federal program. Every agency in the federal government that has a research fund must set aside, I believe, 2.5% of research funds to be funded to the small businesses, which means 500 employees or less. This New York State bill, A4198 and S4434, is called the SBIR Matching Grants Program within NYSTAR. It's in the Ways and Means at the Assembly and the Commerce. This clarifies how funds will be allocated to state SBIR companies and begin to assist small high-tech companies competing for federal SBIR funds. It's a federal SBIR matching funds program. New York State has one on their books. I think they're recodifying it and reauthorizing some of the funds. My understanding was when the New York State SBIR matching funds program was in place a decade or so ago, the money was used up in less than 6-8 months. So they got rid of that. The next one is A10084, creates the Small Business Innovation Research or Small Business Technology Transfer Technical Assistance Program. It is on the Assembly floor. It's designed to assist small business competing for Phase 1 federal SBIR and STTR grants.
Can we go back to the, there's a question here about who is the POC for the SBIR matching grant?
Who is the OC? Can you ask them what
Can you
POC?
clarify? Oh, here, point of contact. Would that be the sponsor?
Oh, you're saying the sponsor of the bill, or
Well, point
these
of
are just
contact-
legislation, it's not enacted yet. So there is no SBIR matching funds yet. These are just legislation.
Proposed.
Yes,
Yeah.
proposed legislation.
And based on Ways and Means in the Assembly might look good, but with the Senate, it's still in the committee, so
Right.
it would have to pass both before. So the-
Right, if you saw that the Senate, this bill was in the Senate Finance Committee, for example, that's a good sign that they're taking a look at it seriously. They're taking a look at it seriously. But it's still in the Commerce Committee. Does that answer the question? Okay, the next set of group of bills is related to what we call the state intellectual property related bills. A4729 S6333 creates the Intellectual Property Asset Management Advisory Council. It helps state to manage its rights to intellectual property derived from state-funded research grants. Next one is A4878 S6330, establishes principles governing the management of state-owned intellectual property. This is an interesting bill. I think all university tech transfer people should take a look at. It's in the Assembly Government Ops, Senate Investigations and Government Operations. So these are the principles that this particular bill is establishing with how state IP should be treated. So the state should retain a non-exclusive royalty-free license to use IP for non-commercial purpose. The state must be able to take title to IP that is not being commercialized. If IP is not dedicated to the public domain, efforts should be made to commercialize it in New York State. When IP that is sold or licensed, the return should be higher when not produced in New York. So these are some of the provisions in the bill. The final state-related IP bill is A247, which establishes a database of intellectual property in the New York State Foundation for Science and Technology and Innovation, NYSTAR. This actually passed both houses. As to duties and responsibilities of NYSTAR, the operation and maintenance of a public interactive database of all IP generated by state employees or developed through state-funded research. I don't know, I have no idea whether this was delivered to the governor or not, but I am going to say that this should be signed. I mean, I don't think it would cost a lot of money to operate and maintain a database of IP generated by state employees or through state-funded research. I'm going to, I don't remember the details of the bill, but I'm going to assume that this would include SUNY IP as well, because since they are a part of the state system. There's a question?
Oh, I'm sorry. This goes back to the high-tech question.
Okay.
They're wondering if it has to be related to a target technology, but.
Okay, some miscellaneous bills. A5908 establishes the Academic Research Information Access Act, ARIA. It's in the Assembly Economic Development, no Senate sponsor. Creates an appropriation to allow public and private academic research libraries to make collections accessible to entrepreneurial community. Access is currently limited because of high cost of licensing agreements and restrictive contracts that inhibit collaboration. I would assume that the collections would also include electronic databases as well. I know that most of the collections or research portals are all online now, and I hope certainly that that's included. The next one is A2982B, S5618B. It directs the Division for Small Business to maintain a small business portal on the Department of Economic Development internet website. It is on the floor in the Senate and in the Ways and Means in the Assembly. It provides existing and prospective small businesses with one-stop online small business assistance. I'm surprised we don't have that one in our state already. So you guys may want to check into that. Look at the language. Finally, is 1980A. 1980 creates Business Outreach Centers, also known as BOC, Network Assistance Program. In the Assembly, it's in the Economic Development. There is no Senate sponsor. This is to foster statewide expansion of services presently provided in New York City by a BOC network, Inc., a not-for-profit corporation. It supports small business development by facilitating access to complex infrastructure of economic development programs and services and needed info with capital and technical assistance. So I guess there is a BOC in New York City that is helping small businesses. They want to duplicate these type of I guess services in other parts of the state.
Before you proceed, let me read the second code for those taking this for credit. SUMAC 210. SUMAC 210. Thanks.
Well, that's all I have for today. Just wanted to state that we hope to do these every year at the end of the legislative session. And again, I'm sure that I didn't include all the bills that are out there. And if you have some suggestions on other types of bills that you'd like me to include, I'd be happy to do it. I think it's important to keep some of these ideas, I think, which are very helpful to developing an innovation economy in New York State, these ideas alive, and hopefully pass them on to the next administration or next legislative folks coming on board.
How does that happen? What's the process by which that best happens?
I think making sure you contact your local assemblymen or senators, and if you see a bill that are interested to you, you should talk to them about it. Make sure that it's reintroduced next year. Talking to your government relations people if you're in the academic environment, and tell them, hey, this is a bill that we should be supporting, and that not only the government affairs should be supporting it, but the university as a whole should be supporting it. And if you come across people who are active in the parties, you should let them know that there are these bills out there, because it's unfortunate, because some of these bills are very good ideas. And I know that some of the language needs to get hashed out and to fine-tune the details of the bill, but conceptually, they're really good ideas. So if you go back to my topics page of areas where the state can help with. Other states are doing similar things, and they are showing some positive signs. And I think it's important to have some good leadership in the next administration to look at these bills and look for other people's ideas and adopt other people's ideas. Not just about getting credit for who introduced the ideas, but looking at the long-term goal of adopting some of these ideas.
How does New York State compare with other states on these types of initiatives?
Just a quick anecdote. When I started in the Assembly in 1998, I worked with a lot of folks who were former Kerry and former Cuomo administration, and they would tell me that other states in the country used to come to New York State to get advice on how we do things here. right now we're looking at other states and how they're doing things. So there's a difference. I think we're fortunate to have a NYSTAR. I don't think other states have a NYSTAR agency that's focused on academic research and focused economic development. In terms of actually finding money and streamlining the process, I would have to say we have too much bureaucracy in that sense. I think we can do better of cutting down some of the red tape. But in terms of the programs, we have these programs on the books. If you go to the NYSTAR statute, we have programs like the Law Center. We have programs like the Technology Transfer Incentive Program. We have programs like the James D. Watson Investigator Program. We have programs that I call alphabet soup programs, that if they are truly funded and funded strategically, we definitely, I think, are ahead of the curve in this country.
Oh. Let's see. This comes from a graduate of our program. Are there any of these bills more important to you as head of a tech transfer office? Are there any bills that will likely help tech transfer offices be more successful?
I knew Drew was a smart student. Yes, this particular bill, 9469, the 9991, the Science and Technology Transactions Law Clinic Program, would be very helpful. I read in detail the 9469 bill, and this one is really trying to follow the model of a proof of concept fund, in my opinion, because, you know, the technologies that are coming out of at least our university at Syracuse, and I'm sure at others as well, are very basic research. Some of them work in the lab, but you get it out of the lab and you talk to a company and you look at the constraints that the companies are working under in terms of commercializing the product. There's a lot that's needed to get it to the marketplace. And this is helping to take that very risky idea or research result and getting it to a point where the company can heavily invest in it. And this is sort of a little bit of a stepping stone for the technology to go over the hurdle of showing that it does work outside of the lab. We do have a proof of concept, and if there is a company that's already working with us, this would provide very important early stage funding of the technology. I know we talk about the gaps in innovation, and this is a gap that is within the research and applied science area. We're trying to get it from lab to the point where the company can say, okay, well, they've gone over the really risky part of it. I think we can invest in it because it's shown that it's working outside of the lab. So this would be very helpful to us.
Okay.
Is there another question?
I think that concludes it.
What is this? Would this include IEEE papers?
I don't know. I'm not sure when that was submitted.
Okay. I hope this was helpful. Again, if you have any other questions, my email is jhoh@syr.edu. Thank you.